Has the recession been derailed? Are we not going to get this so-called recession that everyone, including me, was expecting? We see the equity markets like the S&P 500 about less than 1% from all-time highs. We have NASDAQ moving up higher, Dow Jones also about 1.5% away from all-time highs as well. The crypto markets are booming. We have Trump coin that got a lot of hype as well. Had a little bit of selling recently. Also see some quite aggressive inflows. And all the selling that we saw in December and the start of January before Trump's inauguration, that all seems to be in the past. Why is that? Well, let's first start off with a couple of things, right? We had Trump that came into the office, started signing on multiple executive orders, pushing it out there. The idea of the tariffs didn't kick in on day one that the markets were anticipating. We had a lot of fears heading into the Trump's inauguration. And what did it lead to? It led to more of not as bad as expected. That's what it led to. That the tariffs and the talks, all the 20%, 25% slash that we would hear that would come on day one didn't happen. We have more of the gradual approach. And we heard from Trump that, this is going to be a beginning of the negotiation talks with countries like China and so forth, and that if things don't pan out the way he expects, then you could start with the 10% tariffs on China and then gradually increase there, which we heard previously and which we saw the equity markets rally on that previously. But to see it come into fruition and Trump actually do it and say it himself basically gives the green light for the equity markets to move up higher. Until we get to February 1st, which he has mentioned that, that's when those 10% tariffs could come in. But yet again, right, this is just all talk. What if something happens by then where he pushes that 10% tariff later on to maybe March 1st, right? And basically saying that we're in discussions and we have yet to do it. What would that do? That would push the equity markets even further higher, right? Basically, everything that the markets were terrified about, we're starting to see that it wasn't as bad as they thought. Thus, we're getting this massive move in the equity markets. And when we look at it from a technical point of view, we definitely broke the trend on the charts for the S&P 500 and NASDAQ, and especially the Dow. With the trend of all the sell-off that we saw, we definitely broke it long back. And we're very close to making all-time highs again. Now, to add more fuel to this momentum, we could see, and we actually have been seeing, Trump being more aggressive in terms of spending and collecting money and basically helping the U.S. economy in every way that he possibly can through everything like, for example, the $500 billion investment into AI, the Stargate company being formed with Oracle, OpenAI, and so forth, and the investment that also benefits NVIDIA and AI companies and AI chip manufacturing companies. We're seeing NVIDIA and a lot of these stocks move up higher because of this fiscal side, this fiscal spending, fiscal investment, right, coming from the government side of things, propel the markets higher. And that is one thing, okay, that we should not neglect. That is one thing that we should keep an eye out on, because the fiscal spending, now fiscal policy in the past, before COVID, it was a thing, but it wasn't, monetary policy was a little bit more important. It's still important today. But with the fiscal dominance, I don't think it should be ignored or shrugged. And it's not so much talked about. So, just like we saw during the COVID era, the fiscal dominance, the fiscal policy, all the spending that propelled markets higher, if we get that from the Trump administration, we get aggressive lower taxes, aggressive spending, right? Trillions of dollars of investment, right? We heard that just recently Trump wants $1 trillion investment from Saudi Arabia, wants lower oil prices, wants people to invest in America. If we actually get all those things, then yes, the recession is derailed. Yes, it will be put on hold. Yes, you may get that golden age era. Yes, you'll also get the melt up in the equity markets. We could see right now the S&P 500 sitting at 6,100, 6,138 actually. We could get it to 7,000. We could see the S&P 500 skyrocket, melt up to 7,000. We could see NASDAQ also melt up. Dow Jones, Russell 2000 move up higher. We can get the equity markets to definitely melt up here. And again, that recession derailed. The growth numbers looking better, the economy looking strong. And if inflation comes down, then great. Until, you finally get something that happens later on. Who knows when, who knows what. It could be a year from now, it could be 2030. But these are things to keep an eye on, the fiscal policy side of things and trade. So if trade and trade war with Trump is bound to start, if that doesn't end up being worse than expected, then you can expect the economy and the equity markets to do well. Now, if in February things go haywire, then for sure we start reversing those gains, things get worse off, economy gets worse off, the yield curve, right, steepens, the bond yields on the long end, we approach 5% again, inflation starts to tick up, then yes, that's a problem. But for now, if those things are not there, then it's all green lights for the equity markets to move up higher. And as it moves up higher, and people who are on the sidelines, we hear about so much money in cash and bonds and in CDs, that will start to also flow into the equity markets, chasing higher highs, chasing these highs, these all-time highs, creating that melt-up moment. And then if everybody's on one side of the trade, all you need is one event, something to trigger the markets to reverse on the downside. We heard Interactive Brokers also mention that people are massively leveraged, more than ever before, more than what they've seen, which is alarming to them, especially where equity markets are, valuations are, and it can continue like this. People lever up, they and invest in the equity markets. They go crazy. We're in the golden age era. Stocks to the moon, crypto to the moon. We could all get that in the span of next 1 to 5 years. Who knows when? And then eventually the blow up. It is going to come. Just watch the bond market. It'll tell you. There will be telling signs. Right now, the bond market's not saying that. We're not there yet. But for now, derailment is looking like what it is for now. Equity markets could move higher. And let's also not forget our lovely, crypto markets. Bitcoin, which also sitting at right now 105,000, flickering between 110 to 99,000. Let's not forget Michael Saylor, from MicroStrategy, sitting there buying every single dip. Let's not forget that we have potential Bitcoin strategic reserves that could come in and start buying billions of dollars. Institutions buying billions of dollars of Bitcoin. You've got quite the support level for Bitcoin, for crypto, and the government being more pro-Bitcoin, putting senators and certain key people to manage and promote crypto and Bitcoin is all positive for the crypto space. So we could even see Bitcoin propel higher with those news, right? With that news. You know, this Bitcoin strategic reserves, it reminds me of the marijuana market back then, right? If you traded during that time where marijuana was going to be legal in all of Canada, and we had a lot of these weed stocks basically skyrocket. There was news that okay, it's going to be legalized, it's going to be legalized, it's going to be legalized, and we had this massive move up in the weed market. And eventually, when the news came out that okay, the government legalized marijuana of all of Canada, what happened then is you got basically the reverse, an aggressive sell-off, 80-90% drop in the marijuana market, right? Because the whole of Canada was, the government was pro legalizing this, and all the rumor, it was basically buy the rumor, sell the news kind of trade. And what led to that was just that momentum and that rumor that this is going to be legalized, which is going to be great for the crypto market. And eventually, when it came in and it was signed and done and it was a done deal, we had that massive sell-off, right? We had heard stories of people actually buy that top the day it got legalized, and then eventually, it's sad, but a lot of people lost a lot of money during that time because they literally bought the top. They literally bought on the day the news was released. So it reminds me of, also this crypto, buy the rumor, sell the news. We have yet to also see crypto make that run up before the Bitcoin strategic reserves, right? All this hype going towards it. Could we see the same, trade here where all the crypto stocks and crypto coins move up in anticipation for this Bitcoin strategic reserve, and then eventually the news comes out and then we get that pullback? Sure, definitely we could see that. But that's a very big news, right? America backing up Bitcoin is the biggest thing you could ever expect for the crypto market. It's no joke. So we could see, quite the pump in these risk assets like crypto, along with stocks, if things continue how it is right now, causing this melt up in the markets, causing people to chase, which eventually people will then be on one side of the trade, right? Just like back, 2-3 years back when these rate hikes were going on, people were very bearish. A lot of people were on the sidelines. Things didn't crash because people were on one side of the trade. And that's how markets kind of work and trading, and that's how trading works. When everybody's on one side of the trade, and then you just get an event or something to push the markets in the opposite direction, you'll just get this flurry of panic sellers, people panicking to get out of their trade. So we could see that scenario, the melt up, everyone long, and something happens, panic, and then a quick aggressive drop. We'll see how aggressive it ends up being. But for now, everything is looking positive, and you're going to have to be just watching news flow after news flow. You're going to have to watch what Trump has to say, trade war related. And let's not forget also, yes, not just the fiscal side. Let's not forget our favorite friends at the Fed, the central banks out there. Next week we've got a list of central banks coming out making monetary decisions. Let's see what they also have to say, along with all this momentum and asset prices moving up higher. So let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment below, subscribe, hit the like button, bell icon to be notified next video, and I'll see you guys around. Cheers, bye.